sit. Siéntate. No.
That's Will telling his dog to sit, and me telling you to also sit and listen to this entire podcast because it's gonna be good.
You're gonna want to sit down for this one, and
you're gonna want to stand up for this one.
Alternate between sitting and standing, depending on who's talking.
It's good for your health, good for your back, and it'll keep you awake. That's the most important part.
Yeah. This podcast may or may not.
Yeah. Do you think like the NFL understands that like it dominated ratings on Christmas, but that's just because people like have it on their TV? They know not everybody's really watching all of those games, you know? It's just on in the background of chaos.
Yeah, there should be a way to measure like who's really absorbing their advertising or not.
Yeah, we should all if you're an NFL fan, you should have to have chips planted in your eyeballs.
I consent to that.
Yeah.
Or it makes the league better. If it makes the league more money, and obviously they're falling on tough times right now. They do need more money.
Yeah.
I'm willing to go through with that surgery.
We don't even know if they'll have a league next year.
Yeah.
And maybe it doesn't have to be certain. Maybe it's just contacts. You have to have NFL contacts. And that's how ads can track how many people have their eyeballs on when their ads are on TV. If you get up to go to the bathroom, don't get paid for it anymore, NFL.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Maybe they should just fine David Tepper more.
Yeah. David Tepper got fined $1 billion, and that will be spread for salary cap for all of the teams that are not his.
Yeah, I think that's how it works.
Yeah.
The Jaguars especially get the most out of that.
They get 1 point. They get well, let's see. I don't know how to do that math. They get, yeah, you're right. They get more. What you were saying.
Does the fan who got it the drink spilled on him, not spilled, but thrown on him, he, you know, maybe he sues. I don't know.
I would sue.
I would sue for so much.
I would say he blinded me. He ruined my football day. And there's not a lot of people I would sue. Like I'm not somebody who like really believes in that stuff. Unless it's like a serious thing, you know, like I'm not for the fake lawsuits, fake trauma, but David Tepper, I would sue easily.
Aaron Rodgers might be on the wrong end of a lawsuit. We don't have to get into that, but
I'm going to sue David Tepper, Jimmy Kimmel, and Aaron Rodgers.
And AJ Hawk too. You got to jump in, AJ.
You gotta
do
be
something.
like,
yeah, do something, dude.
Well, that shit. We're gonna talk about the Broncos in a minute. That's the thing. No, everybody's too scared to call Rodgers on his shit. Like they all gotta suck him off, and that's what's the really annoying. It would be fine if it were, you know, like McAfee tried to pitch it as they're just talking shit. You know, that's gonna happen. Fine, I get it. And I watched the clip, and I think Aaron's just talking crap here. He's kind of laughing as he says it. But somebody's got to just call his shit out. Like, but they're too scared because he means too much to their ratings, and they don't want to offend him because he's the most easily offended player in NFL history.
Does he though? Like, how many people are tuning in for Aaron Rodgers is my question. And also, they pay him to be on the show. They pay him for appearances, like a not insignificant sum of money.
No, I know.
We've never paid anybody to be on this show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for Brandon McManus, though, that cost us $5 million for.
He owes us too, by the way.
Minutes on draft day. What does he owe us for?
I defended his honor, and he hasn't been as good as Will Lutz, so I feel like he owes me $100,000.
Pay up.
I defend you.
We both did.
I call the Broncos idiots for getting rid of you, and you don't even have a higher field goal percentage than Will Lutz.
Maybe we get Will Lutz on the show.
Come on. Fortunately, McManus will be kicking in the postseason, so good for him.
Right. Are the Jags locked in?
Not 100%. No. It's going to be they can get bounced.
Yeah.
It's a lot of weird stuff. Tom and I just went over this, and I already forgot. Will and I didn't do a post-game pod on Sunday. I was trying to get ahead. The game was so boring. I didn't feel like it even warranted a podcast. The Christmas week just assaulted me. It was the NFL this is the worst schedule I could have personally. I know you guys don't give a shit about that. So we're playing catch up today. We're going to talk about the Jarrett Stidham experience, Will's take, my take, what the Broncos do moving forward. We don't really have a plan, but we do know there's a lot to talk about. So we're going to make up for that. Russ benched last week. We did a podcast after that happened. And before I get into what you thought about Stidham, don't forget our episode is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Use our code Let's Ride if you want to play some fantasy. I just did a weekly winners draft. 5,000 to first place in weekly winners. It's tricky this week. There's a lot of guys not playing, like Patrick Mahomes not going to play. They're getting Blaine Gabbert. Just learned Jeff Driscoll, another former Broncos quarterback, taking over for Joe Flacco, former Broncos quarterback.
5
for the
different
Browns.
quarterbacks in a season.
Yeah. So that's pretty crazy. So if you want to play, use our code Let's Ride. We got a link in the description for Underdog Fantasy. They'll match your deposit up to $100. And right now in states Alabama, Tennessee, Wyoming, Mississippi, newly added Missouri, newly added West Virginia, they've got the Pick'em Champions, which are available to you now. That's a player versus player format, classic Pick'em games. You're playing against other people within the championship ring, whatever you want to call it, but it's new in those states. So if you previously haven't been able to do pick'ems there, Missouri, West Virginia, I'm talking to you. It's available now. And once we get closer to the games this week, I'll be doing some pick'ems. But all right.
Let's get California and Colorado on that list too. Let's go. Yeah. Come on.
Well,
come on.
I have it. I have pick'ems now.
Do you?
Yeah, I've had them all year, Will. You've done reads for them as I'd made pick'ems.
Oh, well, okay. You're right. You're right.
But California, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Let's do it, Cali. All right. I saw one thing happened this week. Mark Schlereth said that if Russell Wilson had started, he would have been sacked 7 times in the game against the Chargers.
Yeah.
That seems a little much. But the point he's trying to make, if you watch Jarrett Stidham play, he works the pocket better than Russell Wilson. He works the pocket better than Russ. And to me, that's an unforgivable thing to say about Russell Wilson at this point in his career. Other than that, there's some stuff I think Stidham did better. There's some stuff you think maybe Russ would have done a little bit better. The result was the same. Broncos won. I think they would have won with Russ. I think the score would have been similar. What was your take about Jarrett Stidham jumping in for Russell Wilson?
Yeah, that's a good point you make about the pocket. Where, like, let's take that Little Jordan Humphrey touchdown, for example. I don't think that happens with Russell Wilson.
No.
I think, whereas Stidham climbs forward in the pocket to make that throw, it's usually where Russ tries to loop around and make a parabola, and then a wide open receiver just doesn't see him. People have to come back to the ball, and that takes away from the opportunity for yards after the catch, like Little Jordan Humphrey had there. I think Stidham had a few issues with accuracy, especially early in the game. He's
first half
quite a bit, but I'm not going to knock him too much for that, just because he's playing for the first time in literally a year. It had been like a year to the game, just about, since he played really well against the 49ers last year. So you got that. You got nerves. You got kind of a lack of timing and rhythm with some of those guys.
A lack of Cortland Sutton, a lack of Marvin Mims.
Right. Even Troutman goes out later in the game. And I kind of shudder to think, what's Russ doing without Cortland Sutton for a full game? Yeah. That's not going to go well. But I think
that happened the week before.
Right. Yeah. But I think he acquitted himself pretty nicely given the circumstances. They should have had more points, obviously. The run game kind of dissipated in the second half after it was churning out some yards early on. And I thought that, the Chargers have a pretty good front seven, and Khalil Mack was sort of getting his way, especially early in the game. But no, I think he played appropriately for the circumstances. They didn't have to score a lot of points to beat the Chargers. They didn't take a ton of chances. He made a couple of kind of weird decisions down the field, throwing into double coverage.
Yeah.
I don't know if I put that flea flicker on him because that was just a bizarre play where
such a late flea flicker.
Yeah, that might have been McLaughlin's fault. That guy might have gotten open had he not waited, stopped in the middle of the field, and then only then decided to pitch it back to Stidham.
Yeah. That play, I thought Jaleel was faking the flea flicker. That was the play. And then he actually threw it back. I was like, oh, God, this is just a delay. A long delay.
That one Drew Lock flea flicker against the Chiefs.
Oh, I don't remember it.
Oh, that was – I try not – you're lucky if you don't
remember. Was it a pick? Did it result in a pick?
It was in that snow game. Someone just tossed it over. I think it was Melvin Gordon maybe. Just tossed it too high for Drew Lock, and the Chiefs recovered it. But anyway, bizarre play.
What's the last really successful flea flicker the Broncos have had?
I can't remember one.
I can't either.
There's not a lot of successful flea flickers in general.
They're a bad flea flicker organization.
Yeah, I think the move for flea flickers is usually to hit the underneath route and let them run for big yardage.
Oh yeah.
Everybody assumes you're going deep after you flick the flea.
Yeah, but if you get that deep guy taking those safeties out of there, then yeah, underneath man leaves them room to run, assuming the linebackers bite on the run, right?
Right, but if you hold the ball for 5 seconds,
if the linebackers are wait, what are you doing, running back?
Yeah, make a decision, Jaleel. I thought he played pretty well though, McLaughlin, and no, I like Stidham. I think, did he play markedly better than Russ? No, not necessarily. He played different than Russ.
Yeah,
it was just a different experience. I think from a fan perspective, it was a lot easier to watch. I don't think they had any 3 and outs in this game, which is a huge plus.
I think that was the big one is the no 3 and outs.
Right.
It worked. I don't know.
It was easier to watch.
What's that?
It was easier to watch.
I don't know. That game to me was the most boring game that I have watched, I feel like, in the last 2 seasons. It was really boring for me. I felt bored watching it, and I felt bored while thinking Stidham was doing a fine job. It's not a knock on Stidham. It's more a knock on, I just think, the Broncos, the Chargers at this point in the season. I think for Russ, the run game needs to be more effective, and it just hasn't been. And it's weird to me why the run doesn't work. I don't know why. And it was kind of that way too. It just turns into this 3-yard gain or no yard gain, 3-yard gain, no yard gain. To me, that was boring. The little Jordan Humphrey play was awesome. Yeah. And then you had the stat lines that were identical basically between Stidham and Russ versus the Chargers. And then, of course, everyone's pointing out that Chargers game was the Chargers game where Jerry Jeudy dropped the touchdown, dropped another pass in that game, and that Russ would have had insane stats had Jerry Jeudy caught those passes. But that's every game. There's always a couple plays every game that would probably help a QB stat line if this happened and X happened.
Of course.
What really surprised me was that I thought Jerry Jeudy was going to be a lot more involved, and he wasn't.
Yeah, it turned out to be more Brandon Johnson and obviously little Jordan Humphrey, even outside of the touchdown.
Yeah.
Jeudy, he had a couple opportunities earlier. I think one pass was a little behind him. You can argue that that first quarter pass to the near sideline, maybe a little out of reach. Maybe he should have made that catch on the sideline if we're, talking about a first-round receiver who was picked ahead of Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb and T. Higgins. Maybe he should make that play. But no, he got open to set up the Lutz field goal before half. I actually really like that sequence. From Sean Payton.
Yeah.
Saying, let's put our foot on the gas and try to get another 3 points here. And it worked out. And that's another play I don't think Russ makes. I think they just take a knee if Russ is on the field. And it almost works out. Lutz is this close from hitting the upright, basically.
Yeah.
But I like the aggression there.
Did you hear Sean Payton talk about Stidham after the game?
Yeah, I watched the press conference right after the game.
You can spit it any way you want, but he likes Stidham more.
Of course. Would he call him Stids or Stiddy or?
I don't think I heard him be complimentary, super complimentary of Russ after any game this season. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm not saying I watched every single one, but it was always he was saying Russ could be better, even after victory. And
it could be, yeah. He's right.
Yeah, and I think Stidham could have been a lot better too, but Sean Payton's Stidham was good. Stidham was good, guys. And
right.
It could have been Stidham missed, a handful of passes early. I thought that he should have made, but there were a lot of things he did well. No, he's just straight up this dude is so much better than Russell. Me reading Sean Payton's mind was did you guys see what I saw out there? Because I saw a guy that was miles ahead of that fuck Russell Wilson I've been hamstrung with all season. That's what I think Sean Payton was thinking. Right.
Yeah. If you read between the lines of those comments, you're see, I was right.
Yeah.
I told you so.
100%.
And it's not that again, I made this point before, but the offense wasn't, on a production basis, better necessarily, even if you account for Cortland Sutton being out. But I do think the offense was smoother, and smoother does not always equal better. But I think Stidham made the reads and the throws that Peyton wanted him to, whereas Russ is kind of improvising, and sometimes that gets him into trouble. Sometimes that results in a big play. But that's not what Peyton wants the offense to be. He wants it to look more like how Stidham was operating it. And whether or not, that gets you past 16 points every week is another matter. But I think Stidham executed the Peyton vision against the Chargers, which was not necessarily to do much, but to do enough. And they did.
That's a good point. I think what bothers me right now is I wish they would have been in a position to start Stidham earlier.
Yeah.
Not to make a case for Stidham necessarily being the Broncos' future quarterback, but for us to be able to objectively see what Sean Payton's offense, quote, should be. And I don't think it's fair to Stidham in just 2 games to be look, he ran that offense so much better the way Sean wants. I think he needs more time to do it so we can see what it should look like. And so Sean Payton can show what it should look like. And just based on all the backup quarterbacks we've watched this season, it's they come into the game and it's kind of rough. That first game, they eke by or whatever. It's really that second and third game they play well. And then game 4, once the defense kind of knows how to prepare for them, is when you get a real read on them. And I think it happened to Jake Browning over the last couple of weeks. It happened to Dobbs. And I think we would have been a lot in a better situation to evaluate. I don't think it really fucking matters, but this last game, if the 2 before Stidham and the offense look really good, and then you see him go against the Raiders and they shut him down, okay, well, we do need a solution. That's not Stidham, but we got a taste of what the offense can look like. And I just don't think we're going to get that in 2 games.
Yeah. And it's not so much about Stidham to me as it is, look how little a difference there is in terms of overall output between the $50 million man and the $5 million man.
Yeah.
And that's the really damning thing for Russell Wilson. When you go from a quarterback who's making elite money to a backup quarterback who's making good backup quarterback money, there should be a huge drop off. And they're just
it makes me very curious to see where a guy like Patrick Mahomes is going to be in 10 years.
I agree. Yeah.
And I know like Mahomes, there's always like stats about how he performs very well from the pocket. But I think this year you've seen so much of what he does well is from extending plays, and they haven't had the receivers to help him out. But like when he slows down a little bit and it becomes harder to extend those plays, like how impactful can you be? Obviously, he's taller. He can make plays from the pocket. And I think he's good enough where he will adjust his game over time and he'll still be fine. But like Russ is a really good case study of a guy who makes more of his living on the improvisation than, the pocket dude. And that's like it's a stylistic thing, and it's a thing that you can win a lot of football games with when a dude is still arguably like one of the best athletes on the field. And I think so much of Russ's struggles have to do with just his ability to see from the pocket.
Yeah, no, totally agreed.
It's not something I want to admit as a short man. I want a 5'10", 5'11" guy to be able to thrive forever in the NFL. But it ain't Russ. But Drew Brees did, and he's an inch taller. So I don't know how much like weight is there.
Yeah, I that is like kind of a weird thing.
Is that much? Is it that much of a difference? Or are you just taking
sometimes, an
extra step back into the pocket, or are you just better at being in the pocket and seeing the field? I think that's probably what it is.
Maybe Rush should try that thing where, remember when Brees would like drop back all the way in the pocket and then he kind of cock back?
Yeah.
He would cock back and get a better view of the field. Maybe Peyton should have taught him that. Maybe Peyton is trying to sabotage him after all.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Who's to say? But no, you make a great point about Mahomes. And like, I think the clear case example there is Ben Roethlisberger, who went from holding the ball forever and extending plays, and like you can never bring this guy down, and he's so frustrating, to his last few years, no one got rid of the ball quicker than Big Ben.
Yeah.
And, you can make the case that like that was not a better version of Ben because he got rid of the ball probably too quick and you couldn't develop anything down the field. Kind of in that middle spot too, though, when players are starting to adapt, but they have a little bit of athleticism to where they can make those plays. Kind of the sweet spot, but Russell Wilson just never hit that.
Yeah.
He never quite adjusted to his age and declining athleticism.
No, he just never found the balance either because he can still make those plays and he can still throw the ball so well from outside the pocket. Like his arm, that's what sucks. Like you usually see a guy decline, like Peyton Manning's arm just disappeared in 2015. He just couldn't throw it anymore. You see guys Russ can make all the throws, and that's
beautiful arm.
Like, I would say he's still top 5 arm talent in the NFL. Like those passes to Sutton that you got to give Sutton a lot of credit for catching. Like that's just those perfect fucking throws sometimes.
No one's got a better trajectory on their deep ball than Russell Wilson.
No, like,
and maybe that is a matter of height too.
Yeah, it's just like for what he's paid, it doesn't translate, and that's why the Broncos made the decision they did, and that's why he's going to be gone unless some weird sort of thing happens. But the Broncos now are in a spot where they have to just draft a quarterback, and we've won too many games to be in the ideal position to draft the quarterback. And I think the guy that we both like, the guy that I like because you liked him, and then I watched him early this season when shit was going bad. I think he just played himself out of reach for the Broncos, and maybe I'm wrong, but
he might have, yeah.
Michael Penix put on a show 2 nights ago. Was that 2 nights ago? Yeah, Monday night.
2 nights ago, yeah.
Do you think the Broncos can still get him?
I think there's a scenario where he drops, yeah. He's still got one game left to play. Like, he could look terrible against Michigan.
Do you hope he looks terrible so we can get him? I kind of do right now.
No, I mean, no, not necessarily. I think the scenario where he really drops is people get scared off by his injury history. So he's got I think 2 ACLs and then a shoulder injury. That's kind of on his record. But then again, he's been playing college football for 6 years, so you are going to rack up some injuries.
Yeah.
But he is kind of like, I don't want to say Burrow, because Burrow didn't really get a chance at Ohio State. I'm trying to think what's a better comparison, because if you watched him play at Indiana, he's just a different quarterback now. He was such a run-of-the-mill guy at Indiana, and then he completely transformed his game at Washington. Maybe that's a matter of, playing in the Pac-12 and having 3 NFL wide receivers on your offense and 2 NFL tackles on either side.
Situation, fit, there's so many things.
Yeah, and people just like young quarterbacks get better in college too. Like we have to account for that as well. And no, but I like him a lot. It's obviously got the height that you want. The lefty thing I don't care about whatsoever.
I like it.
It's cool. Yeah. It's just a fun little thing.
It makes me double take sometimes. I'm like, why is he turned wrong? Oh yeah, left-handed.
Yeah, I mean, we went through some dark ages for left-handed quarterbacks, and then Tua kind of carried us out of there. And I feel like it's cool again.
I think Tebow ruined a lot of lefties.
Yeah.
For throwing.
Well, it's like the lefty thing is awkward to watch, and then Tebow, combined with being lefty, is just just a horrible experience watching him try to throw a football more than 5 yards.
I love how Broncos fans forget how bad Tebow was at throwing too.
Yeah. Well,
most remember, but sometimes Tebow will get used as an example, and it's just like, no, you don't remember. You don't remember how bad he was at physically throwing a football. Doesn't mean he didn't make good throws from time to time. Yeah. But for an NFL quarterback, he quite literally might be the worst thrower of the football I've ever watched.
Yeah, and it's so weird because if you watched him at Florida, he could make throws.
Yeah.
And then
he got too jacked. He
might have gotten too jacked.
Will Levis, watch out, buddy. You got to lay off the weights.
Yeah, chill out, dude. I also, from when he was playing, I had this theory that he was actually right-handed, and he just taught himself. He just convinced himself that he was a lefty and just tried to make it work. And he did his best throwing with the wrong hand. But generally, I kind of think Tebow is underrated now, because he's held up as an example of a terrible quarterback.
Yeah.
But he did some good things, and he did make throws when it mattered, going 2 for 6 with 1 touchdown against the Chiefs.
Dude, he was a guy who needed so much pressure to perform.
Yeah, it's kind of, in a way, it's like Russ.
Yeah, that's fair. Russ plays better when the game is on the line. It is bizarre. It is but that's the thing. You want your quarterback when the game is not on the line to score points.
Right.
You do not want to, Peyton Manning. I always loved the John Elway fourth quarter comeback stat growing up.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that was always he's so good when the game matters. Peyton Manning, I think when he came to Denver, was if your quarterback is trailing in the fourth quarter, that means he did not play well for the first 3 quarters of the football game.
Yeah.
It was something like that. I think that was in one of the Broncos press conferences. And that's true. So many of the games this season, the Broncos should have been ahead should have either had a lead or had a lead that was much greater than the one they had. Because of the defense, all those, even in the win streak, they should have had bigger leads. They should have beat the Jets, should have beat the fucking Commanders, should have beat the Texans. They lost all those games. That's why we're not in the playoffs. And now we're looking at Jarrett Stidham for 2 weeks. And now we're going right into an offseason where we're not in a great position to draft a guy. We'll have to maybe move up to get a guy, or we just kind of wait there and see if it's a Penix or a Bo Nix that falls to us. Guys that we think are available, will possibly be available, that could have upside. And somebody did a JJ McCarthy Broncos jersey swap, and I saw somebody quote tweet it and say this would be my absolute worst case scenario, my personal hell.
I think I agree with that guy.
And
Speaking of, which is exactly what you were talking about a couple moments ago about, he came back and won the game at the end for Michigan when they needed a drive.
Yeah.
But maybe they shouldn't have been in that position to begin with. Also, he got away with maybe the worst pass I've ever seen on the first play of the game. I don't know if you saw that. Play. He just rolled out and threw the ball right to the defender, but the Alabama DB had stepped out and came back in, so it got negated. But just the most brain dead throw I've seen in a long time.
I don't want that guy. I don't.
No. Plus he's got that Zoomer haircut. Come on. He's got that Fortnite cut. We don't need that.
Yeah, that's like a guy you want probably sitting for a few years and then see what he's got.
He's a good athlete, but
yeah,
not what Sean.
Not an elite athlete like
right.
Jaden Daniels, right? Like that's. People keep thinking the Broncos are going to get him.
No, I don't think
so, guys.
Watch him play and then reassess. He's good, too good for us.
There's a lot of teams who are going to be all in for a quarterback, and they are all sitting at the top of the draft.
Kind of. I mean, the Bears are 50-50, I think, at this point.
Yeah, but you got Washington, you got New England, you got the Giants.
Giants have their quarterback. His name's Tommy DeVito.
If he would have kept playing the good.
Why are there no Italian quarterbacks in the draft?
But I mean, it'll be interesting. It's nice that we just have a draft pick, though. Hey, we're improving, guys.
Yeah,
we get to pick in the first round.
It's been a long time. It's been quite a while since we've got to announce a pick live on the stream, a first round pick.
I know. We didn't even stream the first round last year, right?
I thought we did.
Did we?
Maybe.
I can't remember. This year we'll stream it, and we'll get to talk about the Broncos. It'll be fun. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about quarterbacks for a while.
We're gonna get the all 22. We're gonna break down every throw from every quarterback. Doesn't matter which round he's going. Doesn't matter if he's undrafted. And we're gonna chart the plays. And
That's
only
right.
only then will we decide who we want.
Yeah. I'm gonna start with quarterbacks that the Broncos can't even have. And I'm gonna chart all their plays.
Yeah. Like quarterbacks in the past and the future. Guys they can't have.
We go look at Bart Starr film.
Y.A. Tittle.
I'm going to do a Craig Morton breakdown. I'm going to basically make the Craig Morton line. And is this quarterback better or worse than Craig Morton? You can get to the Super Bowl with Craig Morton. But is this guy better than Craig Morton?
Yeah. That was one of the all-time meltdowns in a Super Bowl, unfortunately. Craig Morton against the Cowboys.
There you go.
But if you can do better than Craig, I think you can win.
That's right. Yeah, the Broncos just a little bit. Yeah, I know and we're playing the Raiders in a meaningless game.
Do you want to win?
What's that?
Do you want to win that game?
No,
I think I do.
I mean, here's there's a caveat, right? Because we got the losing streak against the Raiders, right?
Yeah.
Now. Raiders are a team who will be looking at quarterbacks.
Yeah, absolutely.
They pick ahead of us right now at 11. We're at 14. If we lose to them, I think we jump. We jump them because we lost to them. I don't know exactly. I would prefer to be picking ahead of the Raiders without having to make a trade in the draft. And only because we need it. We need a QB. under normal circumstances, we're like, we got Russ going into next year. Like, I don't give a shit about if we're picking 11 or 14. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, then I'd say, yes, let's just beat the Raiders and let's get out of here on a positive note. I heard the players talk about how important it is for them to win this week. They want to finish the season strong. But honestly, I would rather lose to them. I think that them picking ahead of us and knowing they need a quarterback might fuck us. We're talking about taking Jerry Jeudy instead of Justin Jefferson. What if it's Penix or whatever instead of? What if they get that guy? What if they get Penix?
Then I don't like him anymore. Then he was never good to begin with, and I retract everything good I said about him.
Yeah, you got the Falcons picking at 9. Mm.
Falcons might have Russ. Who knows?
Could. I think that's the best fit. Vikings pick ahead of us. Saints pick ahead of us. All those guys could be in. They could be in the market for QB. I'd go get Kirk Cousins. I just don't think the Broncos can afford it.
I don't. It's a lot of Cole's cash to throw around.
Yeah, and Kirk likes a lot of money as well. So.
At some point, aren't you like, I got enough money. I'll play
you
for
should.
that
Yeah,
minimum.
it should be.
Yeah, I'll play for all incentives.
Yeah.
100% incentives. If we don't go to the playoffs, I don't make a dime. But if we do, largest quarterback contract in history.
I don't make any money.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think that's a trade you should make as a 12-year veteran in the NFL who's set for life already.
Yeah, Russ should have done that too.
Yeah, and Russ is
Steady added 5 years and a lot of money. A lot. And when Denver wanted to rework one part of it, he said no. So.
Hey, even severely underperforming based on the money we gave you, could you maybe just tweak this little thing right here that doesn't completely fuck us over if you get hurt? Can't do it.
Can't. Yeah.
80 doesn't have to.
No, obviously, because if he gets hurt, you want that money.
And it's fair to ask.
Yeah.
It's fair to say no.
Fair for him to say no. And it's not I think that what bothers me about that whole situation too, and maybe we talked about it, I forget. I talk too much on too many different platforms. But I don't think Russ walked in from practice one day and Sean Payton pulled him in his office and
blindfolded him.
We bench you. Right? This goes through Russ's agent.
Of course, yeah.
This is George Payton talking to his agent, then it's his agent relaying the info to Russ, and I think it's a PR spin by both fucking sides.
Well, yeah. I mean, as soon as I saw the name Jordan Schultz, I'm like, all right, this isn't Schefter. This isn't Ian Rappaport. And that Ian Rappaport story from Sunday got totally glossed over because it dropped before all the games were played. But they were talking about there was word from the team, the players, wondering whether they'd be better off with Stidham than Russ, which says a lot.
They see the same shit we do. We know there's 2.5 quarter stretches where stuff's not moving.
Imagine being a tight end who just doesn't get the ball down the field, or Jerry Jeudy, getting open, not getting the ball. That's frustrating for us. How do you think it feels for them?
Yeah.
I'm surprised it took that long for that to come out, and then that story just spun out and just like almost a national story, which is weird. And then you had people who didn't even understand football commenting on it about the Broncos are so greedy. They're the richest owners and they're still trying to pinch pennies. People that don't understand how the salary cap works. And that's where I got frustrated.
Yeah. And if they would have reworked it, Russ's chances of being in Denver this next season would have been very, very, very good. He would have been playing here. He'd been making his $30 or $40 or $50 million. It just it would have allowed him flexibility the following offseason to cut him then. But now we're going to cut him and we're still going to pay him and we're just spreading it over 2 years.
Why can't we do the Shohei Ohtani thing and just spread it out over?
I wonder that too.
Yeah. Or like the Bobby Bonilla Mets thing where we just pay him infinitely.
Yeah. But like that's
paying his grandchildren.
Yeah, we're doing what the Packers did, except we don't have the quarterback we drafted yet.
Yeah.
You're paying a lot of money for your starter. You draft the guy, so you're and Jordan Love was first so they're paying quite a bit of money for Jordan Love to sit behind Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And then they ate a bunch of dead cap money for Rodgers this year, moving on from him. Obviously, that was a trade. It's a little bit different, but like it's not a great position to be in, obviously, if you got $35 million in dead cap, but if your plan is to draft a QB and have a young guy on the roster, then it works. If the Broncos sign some dude, then yeah, we can talk about criticizing the whole thing.
I mean, if we go into next year, like I've seen people go like Jacoby Brissett on this team would be a huge upgrade. And it's like technically, yeah, probably not huge, but it would be an upgrade. Baker Mayfield.
Swear to God, it's gonna be if we sign Joe Flacco again.
That's when he officially falls off a cliff. The moment we signed him.
Oh my God.
He's just.
But like if one of those guys come in and they win you too many games, you can't draft your fucking quarterback the following year. Like,
yeah,
I want to like just. I wish they would have just tanked it this year. And I think they were thinking that. Like, let's get Russ Bench now.
They got real close.
We started winning. We turned it around. Our team was not bad enough.
And then people are like, oh, okay, we're doing the Lions thing where we're actually going to be good next year. It's like, no, the Lions are actually a better team, and they had a quarterback.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
maybe not.
And even that quarterback's not perfect, but he's better than Russ right now.
Do you know what I'd do for Jared Goff on this team? Yeah, well, at the end of the day, we fucked up by not doing the Stafford trade instead.
Yeah, it was right there.
That all the time now.
We had no chance with that. We had no cool coach to go down to Cabo and meet up with him.
Yeah, you think Vic Fangio's going down to Cabo? Ordering a meatball sub.
Meatball, baby. All right, we're going to get out of here. Make sure you check out Let's Talk Broncos. They should be going live now, close to now after I post this. They'll be running on the channel today. I won't be there. I don't think Will be there, but make sure you show Let's Talk Broncos some love. They'll be previewing the game coming up this weekend, whatever that means.
They're the best. They're great.
Good night.
And John Elway never had an injury guarantee, even though he played his entire career without an ACL.
Boom! And good luck.